stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Ladies, please take the roll call.
Dan Patterson.
Here.
Mike LeFay.
Here.
Cal Ellis.
Here.
Olivia DeFrancesco. Here. Frank Clark.
Here.
Okay, next up is public comment. And if anybody wants to speak, we do have, you're allowed 3 minutes, and for the first 15 minutes, I do have 2 names here. The first one is Gina Thurn.
Good evening. So nice to see everybody in person again. It's been a long time. My name is Gina Thurn, for the record. I just wanted to speak to follow up on my letter from last month, inviting you all out to my farm, our kids' farm. I know you have coming up on your next meeting a overlay that looks at controlled environment agriculture as well as ancillary solar. And while my farm is very small, we do both of those things. We grow our produce in greenhouses. We have an ancillary solar array that supports the function of those greenhouses, and we dual use that solar array and grow under, around, under the panels, in space between the panels, on the fence line. So it's a real life working example of both controlled environment agriculture and dual use solar. And we also grow hydroponically, so it would give you a working model to be able to look at what does that look like on a small scale. This overlay has the potential to impact all sizes of farms throughout town. And I think it's a very worthwhile thing, but I also think it's important to educate yourself as to what the different components of that would look like for different size facilities. I know kind of the word on the street is that people think I'm all about solar, but that's not totally accurate. What I am all about is farming. I am a farmer. It's not just my job. It's who I am. It's a lifestyle. It's a life choice. And anything that I can do to help all farms find a way to survive and be sustainable is what I'm about. That's what I'm going to fight for. So that said, I just wanted to reiterate my invitation and cordially invite you all out. Some of you have been to the farm at different times of the year. This is peak season. This is really when you want to see what it all looks like in action. Mike LeFay, if you've come out and taken a look at it since my letter went out to all of you, thank you. Mr. DePasquale, the planner, has also been out and seen it. It's just good for perspective. And no, it's no comparison to other projects on the table, but it is an example of a working farm that utilizes all of the aspects that you are going to be asked to make a decision about in your votes on this overlay. You're cordially invited to come take a look. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Asa Davis.
So congratulations on the Sunderland paving. While it doesn't meet any town road standards like you're saying would apply on my estate driveway, it's good workmanship and will last a lot longer than the substandard work on Mockingbird and other roads. Just think, if the town accepted that same work on the end of estate, the road case would have been over more than a year ago. The issue would resolve for much less than what the town's paying in ongoing legal fees. I read Gina Thurn's recent CEA offer last month. Take her up on it. You'll come away impressed. A recent New York Times story says CEA uses 90% less land and water, no pesticides, with year-round growing seasons. There's a lot to like. We should be welcoming this in Exeter, not fighting it. Mike, regarding the financial meeting, this is one of the few places left where the will of the voters is directly heard and understood. You're in that seat today partly because the last council ignored the 2019 FTM voters and did away with the meeting in 2020. So the majority were voted out last year, making space for you. As a citizen, I trust 50, 30, or even 10 people to make better decisions than just 5. Council members are not. This council prepared the last budget, did the best they could, and presented it at the FTM. And the outcome was still different. And in some cases, like with the Stefan, it was higher, not lower. Frank's right that you work for the taxpayers. The council is elected to serve the public, not dictate to it. Cut the quorum number if you have to, but don't do away with the meeting. On DEM, I hope we get some good meeting news, because if they say yes, a cooperative approach might still work. Cal might not remember, but DEM's been to the site 4 times already, with town personnel there each time. for stormwater violations, for wetland violations, more wetland violations, and to meet Steve and his consultants. After 4 visits already, it's not right to blame DEM for no meeting. The lack of effort isn't on their part. It might be water under the bridge now, so to speak, but did you know you can just ask the DEM Wetlands Group to put in temporary log bridges when you need to cross a stream? And they say yes by email if it's small, like the town garage one. We could have avoided the whole driving through the stream violation for about $80 and a phone call. I know it's only 1 of 10, but still, since each one's gonna cost us tens of thousands, every little bit helps. Running through the old 1994 town council minutes, I found Dick Kenyon used to be the town council highway department coordinator. Maybe we wouldn't be facing DEM issues, paper street issues like estate or labor complaints if the council had kept that role. Maybe time to put it back. On the road case, your last filing is 209 pages. A lot of this is rehashed, so hopefully Marusak didn't charge the going $100 per page rate, or else this is a 20K filing all by itself. We'll find out for sure next invoice cycle. Hot off the presses, decision in Reed versus West Warwick. In that case, a right-of-way was blocked by boulders, just like the Middletown case Marusak already lost. The Supreme Court ruled for Reed landscaping and the barriers had to come out. Lastly, some more picks. Fresh tracks from yesterday. These are ATVs and dirt bikes, not tractors. They're still getting in. You haven't made it harder for them, but you have made it harder for emergency services or me to respond when a crash, injuries, and call for help inevitably occur. Thanks.
Okay, next up, number 4, acknowledgements and announcements. A, town hall staff, clerical assistant Jeanette Morrissey and tax assessor Carrie Petrarca took steps to save nesting baby birds at town hall and wish to thank the public for their understanding and cooperation while the front doors were closed during this period. Does anybody else have any acknowledgements or announcements?
No way to follow up on that.
Only in Exeter, so, okay. Number 5, approval of agenda order.
I move to approve the order as presented.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, approval of the consent agenda. Need to pull anything? Is there any vouchers?
No.
Anybody want to pull any reports? Communications. Go ahead, Cal. Start.
11 and 13.
Okay. You got any with you?
I had 13 as well.
Okay. Frank, got any communications?
I'll second, thanks.
Mike?
11 and 13 like Cal.
Okay, well, I had something with that. A lot of these we're gonna, number 3, number 5, number 6, and number 10. A lot of these will be addressed as we go through the agenda. Everybody's been here for all the meeting minutes, so we need a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. That's up to number 7, vacancies and appointments. Personnel board members list.
No.
No. Conservation commission.
No.
No. B, resignations, Joseph St. Lawrence, zoning board of review member, unexpired term ending July 1st, 2024. I guess we have to.
I move to post the vacancy until it's filled.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
And C, appointments, juvenile hearing board. 2 needed, 3-year term, beginning date of appointment.
Did you want to accept his resignation?
No, need a vote to accept it? Yeah. I need a motion to accept Joseph St. Lawrence's resignation.
So moved.
Second. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Back to appointments. Number 1, nothing on juvenile hearing board, no applicants.
No.
Is this posted on the town webpage, vacancies?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Number 2, juvenile hearing board member, unexpired term ending March 4th, 2022. So we have 3 vacancies, there's 5 members on that board, right? Okay. Let's keep posting them. Board of Canvassers, alternate member, 6-year term beginning date of appointment. A word yet, Cal?
No, I talk to people, but no one seems to want
Get
to help
involved.
out these days, but.
Okay, keep trying.
Well, before you continue, why don't I make a public service
There you go.
announcement?
Yep. Yeah.
There are a few of you here.
Plus, we're back on the YouTube channel now
Nine.
with this first meeting, so.
Tuesday mornings from 9 to 12, 3 members of the Board of Canvassers meet here. State statute requires 2 alternates, 1 Republican, 1 Democrat, in case, just so that there's coverage. It's not a full-time position by any means, but it's a public service. The only downside is at this particular point, with this particular appointment, you have to declare yourself a Democrat. I've never had a problem with that, but I know many people do. I know many people do, so just saying.
I got no
So,
problem
public
with that.
service, no comment, Ken, no comment, please. Anyway, so just a public service announcement. Thank you, Dan.
We're always looking for help for all these vacant.
Yeah, because it's not only this position, juvenile hearing board, kinds of bad things,
Yeah.
people help.
Okay, thanks, Cal. Number 4, Tax Board of Assessment and Review alternate member, 3-year term beginning date of appointment. And we did have 1 letter of interest. If I remember correctly, or is it number 10?
Isn't that kind of like the bad penny story? Just kidding. Just kidding, Ted.
Calvin, I don't mind.
We received a letter of interest from Ted Natale, who was a member of that board for many years and took a short break and has
Yep.
put in a letter of interest as an alternate member. So
Why don't you move to appoint him?
I'll make a motion to appoint Ted Natale as an alternate member to the Tax Board of Assessment Review.
Second?
Any discussion?
Yeah, but I won't say anything.
Oh, give it to us,
I-
please.
Just do it for us, Ted. Do it. Thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
Number 5, under appointments, Department of Public Works, we have 2 vacancies there, 2 job openings. This has been posted for a month, and we have not received any applications, so we're gonna continue to post it. And I was talking to Lynn today, we're probably, was it Indeed? We're gonna post it on there and see what happens. It's like any other business in the state or the country, we can't find any help. Number 6, this was a new position approved by the voters at the financial town meeting due to more mandates and basically needing a little bit of help with the Board of Canvassers, elections administrator, clerk/clerk. And Lynn's gotten quite a few applications.
Yes, we've gotten quite a few, we had put this one on Indeed, and we've gotten quite a few applications and promising candidates. Mary from the Board of Canvassers and Maria are reviewing the applications and selecting a few candidates for interviews.
We would like to give you guys the authority to interview. Yeah. Make a motion, Frank, on that one? Yeah.
So moved.
So I'll make a motion, and we'll have Maria, Mary B., and our town clerk sit in and interview prospective employees. So,
Second.
any discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, next up, number 8, public hearings. Outdoor entertainment license application, Anthony, is it Gemma or Gemma?
It's Gemma.
Gemma, owner applicant, 106 10 Rhode Road, Exeter, Rhode Island, to hold his wedding ceremony and reception outdoors on his property September 4th, 2021, from approximately 5 p.m. to 12 a.m. with a caterer, DJ, and approximately 200 guests. You got a motion to open public hearing.
Second?
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Come on up.
It's good. It's good.
How's everybody doing today? How are you? I'm good. There was a request to application for my wedding, on the property, 2610 Rhode. It's going to be, say, from 5 to 12 a.m. Probably building units during the day. I have spoken to Corporal Miller, we will have detail there, so that, main people coming. And we're respectfully requesting approval of the application.
Any questions from anybody in the council?
Will the east end of town be hearing all the festivities, or how about your neighbors? That's a tongue-in-cheek
Sure.
comment, I'm sure you want to have a good time.
Yes.
How about, I noticed that some neighbors have been noticed.
I think where my property is located, I'm pretty far from anybody, or many people that can hear anything. We did have Christmas display, that they play music at that time, and I never seen any complaints. So this won't be, most of the 200 people are my family. Those even from now to 140 people are just my
Are
family.
you gonna have a band or a
It'll be
DJ?
a DJ, yeah.
Are you the folks that had the
Yes.
extravagant?
Yes.
Yeah,
Oh, that was awesome.
a lot of work.
I'll bet. Yeah, after the wind, you had to take it down, put it
Yeah,
up.
it's a lot of work. But we're gonna do it again, hopefully. That'll be another application.
About the only question I had, when I saw 12 a.m., personally, living next door, I wouldn't care about the DJ at midnight. Is he gonna be playing right till midnight?
No, I put midnight in there as, stop breaking up things a little bit early.
I know, like me personally, it doesn't bother me. But I know there's been some instances in town, they scream at 10 o'clock, so,
Yeah.
yeah. But anybody from the public have any questions of the applicant?
Are we invited? I like that question.
I can say though, that there was the previous owner had a wedding there with over 300 people there, and there was no problems. We had a detail officer there.
I know when you were doing your Christmas display, people were calling me complaining about the traffic, and I said, I'm not playing Scrooge.
Yeah.
Yeah, we gonna do it again next year?
Yeah, we'd like to.
Okay.
Once we get the traffic under control,
Yes, go.
we had it together after, first couple of days, I didn't realize it would be that successful. So,
Okay, do you need anything from him, Lynn? or-
Nope, he says that he took care of it, and, I also wanted to say that Sue Oxley, he's been in touch with Sue Oxley.
Yes, you've signed
And
off.
she's, yeah, on the 10th and stuff.
thank you.
Any other questions, or? Okay.
I move to close the public hearing.
Second, okay. All in favor to close it?
Aye.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, wait, just a
Minutes.
minute. We haven't approved your app yet. We just closed the hearing.
Formalities, so.
This is in Providence.
Okay, someone wanna make a motion?
I'll make a motion to grant Anthony General, owner applicant, 10610 Rod Road, Exeter, to hold his wedding ceremony and reception on his property on my birthday, September 4th, 2021, from approximately 5 p.m. to 12 a.m. with a caterer, DJ, and approximately 200 guests.
Is that Labor Day?
Yeah, we have the weekend.
Okay,
Well, I'll second for discussion,
okay.
for discussion.
Go right ahead, Cal, you got anything to
Wish
say?
you the best.
Thank you very much.
It's a good thing.
Thank you.
Congratulations to you, best wishes to the young lady.
Any other questions or comments? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All set, boss.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good luck.
Thank you so much.
Okay, number 9, new business. And extension and renewal, declaration of municipal state of emergency, and this is cut to Stefan today, and Stefan recommends we do this for 1 more month.
Shoot, I was gonna move to have it removed from the agenda.
Well, I guess with
I
everybody
understand.
screaming Delta variant, he said out of caution,
No,
so.
I understand, and I'll move that it be extended for another month.
Okay. Got a motion motion, and a second.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Are there any financial implications, whether if you do it or don't do it?
Well,
town?
when you leave that in effect, it's like, any of this federal money, for like setting up the clinics and that, he's not able to get it. If you don't have that in place, you can't do it, so. Other than that, I've only used it once to change the word in that application, so. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, item B, Department of Public Works awarding a bid replacement of 2007 Ford pickup truck West Trade. Did you have a bid on it?
Okay, so we didn't post this because there was a question last month
Yep.
about the mower.
Okay,
So before we put it on, make sure you still wanted to put it out to bid.
okay.
And I think, Ken, you had the history here on the mower?
Yeah, I sent an email to the council. Mostly,
Yeah.
it was changed after the public hearing, but when we were in a final review of the financial town meeting documents, that's when it was changed, as Steve said. He was better,
Did not change the line item of money.
no money
at all,
will ever
so nothing
change.
changed, what was approved, so.
So,
Okay, so we need to have a vote to put it out to bid, or?
I mean, you voted last
We
month. to
voted
put it out
last,
to
yeah,
bid,
so.
So we should put it out. Yeah.
Anybody have any questions or discussion on it, or?
No opposition to putting it out.
No, I think it should proceed.
We're lucky we'll get a truck next year. There's no trucks either. Okay. Item C, Morris Farm decommissioning agreement. I'll turn this one over to you, Jim, you're the lawyer.
Okay, everybody received, I think, in your package, a decommissioning agreement that was approved by the planning board after there were negotiations between the board, our planner, and the applicant's attorneys. And when it hit my desk, obviously I have to look at it for legal form. And quite frankly, there were some things that I didn't like about it. I didn't like the fact that there were some requirements that the town bring lawsuits before they could enforce certain aspects of it. I didn't like what appeared to be cumbersome notice requirements, where we were obliged to find out who the third owner was and the like. So I told the attorneys that I was not gonna suggest approving it to the town council. And so we worked on it with Bill, our town planner, and I think we have a better form of the document than what hit your desk. And I approved it, Bill's approved it, and the planning board is getting something better than what they approved. So.
Does that have to go back to the planning board?
No, it doesn't, because
Okay.
Bill, the form has to be reviewed by the solicitor, and I did, and it hasn't changed the guts. It's only changed some of the procedural matters that are in it. It's just gonna make it a whole lot easier. So I will pass out the form that Bill and I have approved. That copy. The changes really have.
Thank you.
We good, everybody?
Everybody have one
Does
now?
Ken need one?
I'll get one later.
Okay.
You don't.
If you just, I'll just briefly let you know where the changes are. They are in, here you go. The material changes are in the notice paragraph, which is numbered 4 on page 4. Excuse me, number 3, starting on page 3 and going on to page 4. It makes it simpler for the town. And there's also the identification of the parties to be notified and how that's to be accomplished. That is in paragraph 8. That's been slightly changed, and it makes it easier for the town. And those are essentially the 2 changes from the one that you had in your package. But other things are very minor. It's a better form than what you have.
Well, I'll move to approve, again, for any discussion, I'll move to approve the decommissioning agreement that you presented to us tonight. Jim, with Energy Development Partners, an address of, no, that's our address, energy development ordinance.
No. I'll say this for the record, that the attorneys for the applicant were very, very cooperative. They did not have any pushback to the suggestions that we had. We had some suggestions concerning tweaking the language, but it was all very courteous and cooperative.
That's good. Well, was that seconded, Dan? Has that been seconded?
Second by Mike, so.
So, under discussion, I'd just like to say that this issue of holding monies in escrow is one that's, we've been discussing from the outset, when some agreements have come, proposals have come to us, so I was pleased to see that this moves forward. The public should just know that this is a cautionary move in the event that the solar array gets constructed, and then what happens if it reaches the end of its life expectancy or has issues. And I think, I mean, this is a public document, holding $500,000, if I read this correctly, in an escrow account. So is what should happen,
Right.
and you agree, I believe.
Absolutely, so they're gonna provide a check, it's gonna be, the money, cash is actually gonna be held by the town. And the planning board, negotiated the price with the planner as to what they believe a reasonable amount was, and so that's what's before you, but you're absolutely right, Cal, it's kind of a hot issue, and, it's something that is, as far as I can see, better practice to have that done, and better agreements and better plans to have a decommissioning agreement. So the planning board thought that was important. The applicants in this case.
I would appreciate it if the minutes would reflect a bit of this comment, that it's a significant issue that we discussed. Here it is addressed in front of us. Thank you, Jeff, for working through this. For your report back to us.
Any other questions or comments? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay. Next up, July communication number 9, proposal for disc golf course on town property, 169 South County Trail.
He's back.
That's me, I'm back.
Tell us what you proposing.
So my general idea, I don't know if you were able to look through the packet, yes. Basically myself and this golf community would sort of work with the town and public works department in the designing and implementation of the course. The actual cost of it is really, in terms of, what you need is about 18 or 19 baskets. If you want to have one tractor putting basket, I included the cost of those, it's about $7,000. Other than that, I know you brought up the concern about insurance. I think that could be almost added as under the same policy as an additional activity, since the property is already public use, recreation. It's not an inherently dangerous sport. It's probably similar to people, like kids on a playground, like maybe you twist an ankle. In terms of volunteer work, that's how most of the courses in the state have been built. I know I've spoken to Steve, the public works director, and he mentioned he's a licensed arborist. For any removal of anything that's beyond the scope of what a volunteer would necessarily want to do, we'd work with him to flag a tree and have him remove it. We're not going to remove any mature trees. It's more of like cleaning up big dead trees that could be a hazard, things of that nature. Any questions for me in general?
Sure. Want me to go first, Cal?
I wish you
How
would.
many acres of land do you need to take for one of these courses?
Well, it can't be. It doesn't have to be an exclusive use for the land. I know, for example, there's a course in Massachusetts in Plainville called Hawkins Woods, where they incorporated walking paths along with the course. And by no means, we're not clear cutting, it's more or less a hiking trail through the woods with some defined, what we call fairways, where you're taking out some of the underbrush and smaller trees that, you know, get in the way. But the course is played, or the sport is played in the woods. So to answer your question, typically it's 1 acre per hole.
What's that, please?
Typically 1 acre per hole. But again, so when you think about that, a typical hole is about, say, 300 feet.
Oh, per hole.
Per hole, so it's an 18
HOL.
hole.
I thought you were saying hall, I'm thinking,
Oh, no,
what
no,
is
no.
it you're bringing?
So it's basically, it's golf with frisbees.
It's golf for frisbees, you play it through the woods, yeah. Yeah, there's one at Minigrit Park.
Well, that's what I was gonna ask you,
Correct.
where is the closest one that you see
So
operational?
the closest one, Minigrit is okay, it's not very well maintained. Curtis Corner Middle School in South Kingstown has a course. That's one of the better ones in the area. There's a private course in Richmond. That's a pay to play, it's like $5 a round. Most of them are free. So I guess one of the benefits of putting a course here is you are probably 15, 20 minutes closer to, you know, the more densely populated portions of the state, and you would, you know, get probably a good amount of use. So, I mean, people drive from Warren to come play. There's a Sunday morning league that's put on at Curtis Corner Middle School. People drive over an hour just to come join and play in that league. There's not a very good, there's not too many courses in the state that are worth playing, more or less.
Who are you looking to pay for the baskets?
Well, you know, I did throw that in the proposal. I don't know if you could find that in Parks and
Not Exeter, you
Public
want.
Works Department budget or anything of that nature.
Yeah.
We could, you know, we could do things like a fundraising tournament, stuff like that to, yeah.
Well, when you're sitting there roughly 1 acre per hole and trying to just think, it's not that much land down there. You're gonna be into the areas where they've got like stockpiles in the public works department.
all behind that land is, I mean, I've used the GIS and I've measured more or less a polygon area, you know, excluding 300 feet from where the river is, easily 40, 50 acres out there.
Well, that's what I'm thinking, you're looking to the town of Exeter to pay to build this, and
It's, you can think of it as almost like, it's like if you were putting in a playground, a soccer field, something like that. It's a benefit to the public. It's, the community will get used probably more than a lot of the other, you know, public things you've put in. That basketball court, I'm sure it gets used, but I can guarantee this will get a lot more use by the public. It's a great activity. Personally, I have friends who have lost a lot of weight. They play almost every day. If you're hiking a couple of miles in the woods and around.
So, I just have,
Sure.
you others, Frank, others, we all have questions.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
sure.
yeah. I know, it's a tough thing to.
Well, because first of all, you just mentioned there's a course in Minigrit, not
Mhm.
very well maintained. That's state property, right, Minigrit, or yes? I mean,
Yeah,
my
so
issue is who's really gonna be watching over this?
It's, it could be a collaboration between the Public Works Department and the general public for a lot of the courses, such as South Kingstown. There's a gentleman named Norm who wanted to be here today. He kind of leads the effort over there. We have a Facebook group at Rhode Island Disc Golf. It's got over 500 members. Periodically, people will post in there, hey everyone, you know, this Saturday we're having a work day. We're all going to meet up at South Kingstown. We're going to, you know, clean up trash. We're going
Which is on town property?
which is on town property, yeah.
Just-
Right. So, it more or less community maintained.
See,
And
for growing up here, sports in the woods for kids here wasn't really that, but there are plenty of other sports that happened in the woods, but that's an aside. But Oh, I'm not talking about me personally, but, so I hear. But I don't know, I think we've all looked at this, we must, I don't know to whom we've spoken. I've had some conversations with Ken, our council assistant, because we often throw stuff like this at him. So I've talked with him, and have you thought of any other place in town? Because I'm thinking about the library site where there's already some recreational activity, but the town owns more land, but I don't know how much, but I don't know whether that would be a possible
I could
feasible
absolutely-
site.
25 acres, Patty?
What's that?
The library piece?
Yeah, 22.
22 in total, minus where the library is up front.
No,
Okay.
Well-
22 in total.
Yeah, well,
I mean, there are people around there more often perhaps than, are you thinking parking over at the Reynolds Field? Parking area, is that?
yeah, I've spoke to Steve again about this. You know the exit that's sort of blocked off, or the entrance that's blocked off of what, the other South Road? So you would enter through that dirt road, and then there's almost already a nice little alcove where it could almost make a parking lot, you throw down some gravel.
Like where the truck pulls in, Helen? No, is that what we're talking about?
That's what he's talking about.
Okay, just trying to.
Yeah.
Envision.
There, or, I mean, even in just a portion of the field, you wouldn't, a gravel parking lot would suffice for approximately 20, 25 cars.
What brought you here, I'm curious?
So I'm in real estate, I'm obsessed with disc golf, obviously.
But you don't live in Exeter.
I don't, no, but in my spare time, I go to on-town GISs and browse properties that I think would be good for disc golf course.
I mean, my point is simply, and no offense,
Yeah, no
but
problem.
if you lived here on one of these side roads,
Sure.
I think well, listen, it's good, a nice fellow in the community wants to
Mhm.
see if he can enhance what we offer,
Yeah.
which is minimal, as you said.
Well, I think it could enhance surrounding properties. You have that plaza across the street, we get so much more traffic there, to the pizza joint. right?
The shops,
sure.
the shops over there.
Yeah.
Okay.
My personal opinion is it's a cheap, very relatively cheap way to just add something to the community that the public would benefit from.
Lynn signs off from time to time on
Sure.
people that want to use the facility, like, I don't know, not often, or, I mean, so we're talking about the same general area,
Yeah.
or maybe it's not, because they're using the field, and you're using woods,
Mhm.
so it's a different concept.
Well, now you need to build a trail in the woods.
We do have a decent amount of manpower and some experienced course designers as well.
You know, I'm sorry, Steve isn't here, but,
Right.
notice we have
A couple of
vacancies
vacancies, yeah.
right now,
Right.
so, and obviously his priority with his crew has to be maintaining what he has to maintain,
Mhm.
so
I did meet with Steve at the property, and he seems generally in favor of the idea. He's talked to friends and was already kind of learning about it, but you can talk to him about that.
Well, we wanna talk about the
You
library.
wanna
side.
comment, would you
Yes.
comment,
Well,
Ken?
also the chair of the library board,
Sure.
and, so we have a new librarian, we have a new kind of, focus on more of the community activities and adult programming.
Mm-hmm.
We do have the playground right there, we have the parking lot, we have staff in that library
Okay.
constantly. So I know, you need a lot of land, I don't know if you've walked that property.
The library property?
Yeah, it's just for preliminary discussion to see if it's even feasible to do that.
Sure.
But we almost may have the ability to help you kind of, manage the property.
Okay.
Because we'll have people down there, we have a librarian, and I talked to him about it, and he's all for it.
Mm-hmm.
So if somebody will be there, it's a little more out in the open than buried back in the
Okay.
parking lots over there.
In that, there's a parcel adjacent to the library property. Is there solar going in there? Is that what the plan is? Do you know what I'm talking about?
No.
Do you know?
It's our property.
That's not-
No, well, it's
The
a,
field next door, no.
no, not the field. There's a very large parcel and it kind of has, it almost looks like dirt, like
Oh, the one
trails
over
going.
the back side.
Know which one he's talking
We all.
Exeter Bowl.
No, what's going on there?
That's a proposal.
That's a
across the
proposal. Okay.
transfer station.
But, you know, there's also a fund already in place that supports the recreation,
Oh, okay.
the playground facility.
Mhm.
So if there's discussion that might ensue,
Yeah.
Ken, once again, you said you've talked with our new librarian, and
And he's all for it, you know, for discussing it. I'm not saying that it's a perfect location.
Now, you get all ages doing this, but you get a lot of, like, teenagers.
Honestly, well, at Curtis Corner would probably be the best example. You do get some kids in there who will like vandalize, they'll like knock over the signs and whatever, but
No, but
for,
it's more like, you get a lot of young kids that play the sport.
oh yeah,
That's what
absolutely.
I'm saying, because they've got a lot of people that use that playground and everything up there.
Yeah, I know Charahoe, for instance, incorporated disc golf into their phys ed program. He was the reference that was in the back of his packet. But yeah, I'd say the age really ranges from, I mean, I was playing with my pregnant wife and I take my kid out on my back and I play. But, you know, you'll see young kids out there, you know, 5 and up. You'll see 70-year-olds out
where
there.
do you play now?
Mostly South Kingston.
Would you come play here?
It's on my way home from work.
Well, Dan, can I make a suggestion?
Yep.
That we move this forward again for next
Yeah,
month?
and explore
Ask
those.
you to explore, and I'd like to, some of us have a chat with Steve as well. and
Yeah, that's why
Well,
I'm
let's continue to explore. I'm not gonna shut the door, though I doubt I'll be out there playing it.
So you play on the GIS maps, did you, like, take a look at that library parcel? Could you
Yeah.
draw up like a layout
Oh,
of the course?
Yeah, that's the thing. So when we originally talked to Steve, you know, for us to put in the time to really go out there, map out a whole course, and then get shut down,
Yeah, sure.
obviously. But if we can generally lay one out with
With the
just
GIS.
lines drawn on a map and say this is a generally how this would work, sure. Yeah, and I'll take a look at that parcel.
Why don't you go?
It's worth your while to do the library, because I think it's feasible, it's something we're looking for anyways.
Okay.
A few years ago, we had those outdoor adult activities, you go and do some exercise at one thing, go to the next station. So it's been discussed for that area.
Okay. Cool. All right.
Try it.
I'll go check it out.
Okay?
Thank you.
You can come back, we'll put you on unfinished business next month.
Okay. Fair enough.
And if you don't come back, we'll just figure you kind of lost interest.
Well, things move a lot quicker when you're in new
Okay.
business,
All right.
and there's no technology.
Yeah, go check it out, okay?
All right.
Item
Thank you.
D will continue to next month, please.
Okay.
Item D, discussion and possible action format of future council resolutions.
That was me.
You're up.
I just wanted, I noticed in past resolutions, like one would be formatted one way and one, like, there was no continuity basically. And I would like all the resolutions to be formatted the same way. When I talked to Lynn about it, she's like, oh, sometimes Jim writes them, or Lynn writes them, or Ken, or, you know, they write them 3 different ways. And I just think, especially if I was a member of the public and I'm reading one resolution and then another one and then a different one, and they're formatted differently, I'd be like, why? Like, this is the same board that's giving me this resolution, why are they formatted different ways? Like, it would just make more sense and look more professional if they were all done the same way. And I can work with Ken or whoever to come up with a,
Lynn's format, right? The standard
I
format.
use a standard, basically, but you
Yeah.
talk about the signatures and.
yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
Keep that on next month too?
If,
You do, or?
No, but,
yeah,
Just look into it, maybe.
yeah, we'll talk.
I mean, when I saw it, I wasn't quite sure. I spoke to Lynn. I know the resolution that we adopted last month, that was a 3-2 vote. And Lynn did write a vote no, and I was just gonna say, she did that, love me to ask her. But in cases like that, if we can go forward, and if there is a posture we take that we don't all agree, then if you can do that, I think that's good, so that people who see it know that people support it.
Well, that's exactly what I mean,
I
just
think
so
that's-
it's all
Yeah.
out there and clear.
Okay.
Take it off.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's see, item F, discussion and possible action, transfer station fees and regulations, that was you, Mike.
Yeah. So we had some conversation at the fire station when we were doing the financial town meeting planning. And we talked about how this year we have to partially subsidize the transfer station. And on the surface, it didn't seem fair because it's like a membership kind of thing where the people who use it pay for it. And now if the town is subsidizing it, now everyone's paying for it a little. So, and I was told that we need to bring this up later. So I was kind of bringing it up just for discussion to see if there's anybody that feels the same way or thinks we should maybe raise the rate on the transfer station for the following year and take away the subsidy, or how you guys feel.
How do we keep having is the state raising the tipping fee? I wish Steve was here. Because he knows the tipping fees. Is it just, last year it was fine, it was level. You can go over
Maria may be able to speak to that, but
Maria.
Maria.
But can I just say, for conversation here, and, well, you know what, I'm gonna make a motion, if there's a second, can we discuss it? My motion is gonna be that we maintain the same fees for next year going forward. I know where you're coming from, I'd like to discuss it, but my motion would be that we maintain the current fee status. And I know it has to be done soon, am I right, Lynn, because the
You have to
stickers.
decide tonight what you're doing. because
Right.
You have to do a public
So-
hearing in September.
Okay, so my motion is that we maintain the same level. Is there a second?
So I second that for discussion.
Thank you, thank you. My thought to comment on what you said, Mike, is that some years ago, there was great concern that the public was funding this, though many members of the public didn't use it. So there was a separate, some of you remember this, a separate set-aside account for both the transfer station and the animal shelter. But a few years later, maybe two cycles,
2017 it was decided, so fiscal year 2018.
to back away from that and go back to the way it had always been. But the point was, people made that exact same argument years ago that Jude made, that the fees aren't enough to cover, and so everybody's subsidizing it. But on the flip side is, some people say the rates should be lower, and I don't think we can afford to do that. Not from what Lynn, you want to comment? Not Lynn, sorry, Maria. I mean,
So,
we can't go down, can we? Because
No.
expenses are,
so the general fund has always subsidized to some extent since 2018. And last year, it looks like the general fund was subsidized about $48,000. And it's been getting worse because
the tipping fees
expenses,
keep
the
going up.
tipping fees are the highest they've been last year, and I think they're gonna go up this year.
And Steve has spoken to that when we were planning the budget, which I know that's what you're speaking to. But he already told us it was gonna cost more. So, well, that's my motion, but I'm amenable to something different.
The renewal is what, October now?
Now it's October
That's what
1st
it's-
instead of
That's what-
September, so we avoid the Labor Day hassle. And people got 1 free month for last year, the year before,
Last year.
1 free month. But
One of the issues with the tipping fees going up, and that happened in 2017 and 18, the solid waste management is a semi-quasi-state agency. They've got lots of money sitting in a surplus account. They were Rondo administration, it's called spoofing, started taking money out of these semi-quasi corporations, including the airport corporation, throwing it into the general fund up there. So basically, it was a hidden tax that got thrown on the cities and towns, because I remember when this happened. Alan Farm told me that it added $220,000 in cost to the city of Cranston. And this is their new way, they'll dip in there and take $2,500 every year. So they gotta really.
So then the tipping fee is increased, so then, yeah, it's a, well,
In the general assembly passes it, so.
but my motion was to maintain it. If you wanna discuss, you know, somebody wanted, if you went up for $10 or something, I mean, is that about,
I think we spoke about 170 would be close to covering it, is that?
do you remember that discussion, Ken?
It is wrong, yeah.
I mean, I keep
Maybe
saying,
even back
Maria.
then.
But it also subsidizes the non-transfer station use. So if you have trash pickup on the side of the road from Lewis, this pays for that, some of our tipping fees. So it's not that,
Some of the tipping fee that we pay subsidizes private companies?
no, they get to use our fees.
Okay, they get the same rate.
Our
So-
disposal
for-
is
same rate.
just for a limited amount.
But they reimburse,
They
but they reimburse the town, so.
Every year Steve kind of looks at how much we've hauled, how much we've taken out, and how much we're given as a cap. And then he tries to figure out how much is in excess of what we'll need. And that he sells to D. Lewis, or else we lose it, because they give every town, you can only dump, you know, there's a cap. But if we don't have to use that whole cap, he gives it to, so they pay our fee, helps them out.
So King Louis uses whatever we have left, and then we have to pay a different rate for whatever else they have in the town?
Exactly.
Okay.
Above and beyond that, they pay a different rate.
I mean, I just think it seems fair that if you're gonna use the transfer station, we all pay as like a group. And the neighbors, I have neighbors that use D. Lewis or whoever it is, and they pay substantially more than that.
I need to do
And
it,
so,
I do, yeah.
I mean, that's substantially more than that. How much
It's
is
a
it?
it's a
Yeah,
convenience
it's a
thing.
convenience. So, I mean, I'm just throwing it out there because it seems like it should be self-sufficient. To be fair to the citizens of Newton,
You sound like you're speaking fair and equitable. Is that what you're talking about?
a little bit.
Okay. Yeah.
Any other discussion, right? You got any questions? I think we went round and round. You want a second sticker, I know.
Want what?
Don't you want 2 stickers per family, is that what it was?
That's one of many things.
Yeah.
I'm still very confused how there's such a huge difference between Exeter and West Greenwich with regards to their transfer station and our transfer station. Now, we know that West Greenwich heavily subsidizes it, okay? Which is why the cost of their stickers is, what is it, $100 for 2 years, and then they get 2 stickers per household, or whatever it is, right? But I still have more questions than I have answers with regards to,
Well, Frank,
exactly how it works from a demographic standpoint.
Well, Frank, I'll comment on your observation about West Greenwich. They also have, how do we say this, a much broader tax base. I mean, you know what I'm talking
No,
about.
I know,
So
I
they
understand
have
that.
more income,
And
and so they can
well,
subsidize, well, what, so,
the majority of that tax base goes to the police department.
yeah, well, we're not going there tonight.
But yeah, but you're making it seem like that money is being spread around everywhere.
Yeah, no, I understand what you're saying.
I mean, you can't say it's okay over here, but it's not okay over here. I mean, during the financial town meeting, I found out, to Olivia's question, what was West Greenwich paying their social services director? And we found that they're paying them $30,000, okay? So we're gonna say, okay, well, we're not, you know, line item for line item, we're not the same with them, but, you know, they may have more of a tax base, but all of their tax base essentially goes to pay for something,
Some services.
you know, one particular area of their town government. It's not being spread through every line item of the budget, so.
We had that committee maybe 4 years ago that researched the different options the town had about,
Oh, we did, yes.
transfer station, private pickup,
Right.
curbside,
What was-
bags.
For bags.
So if you want, I can send it, and it explains a lot, there's a lot, everything was really looked at well. And I can send you the report, or Lynn has it, if we dig it out.
I mean, I don't know if things have changed since then and now, I don't know.
No, it was a pretty thorough report.
It was thorough, and it was sort of 4 different options
Right.
were addressed.
I mean, to Mike's point, Mike has a good point. If you're gonna use the transfer station, you should pay for it, right? But at the same point, I can also understand West Greenwich subsidizing it because what are the people in Exeter getting for the tax dollars that they're paying in town services? Okay, so you can subsidize it here, you can subsidize it there. It's all a matter of perception of what you think the best value for the dollar is. So,
And the last time the dump stickers went up, the transfer stickers went up, didn't all trash go around the town and
Well, so,
like,
yeah, in the short term,
Yeah.
there's always
people
kickback.
will,
People just dump it on the
Yeah.
side of the road. And then it ends up costing us how much money to
Yeah.
pay the DPW to go around and pick up all that refuse on
Exactly.
the side of the road. So one way or the other, you're paying for it. Whether it's
Part of
mattresses or
the reason
tires or, what's
part of
that?
the reason I made the motion to keep it like it is. 'Cause
Right.
And I think.
And I think each one of us, Mike, has a good point. You have a good point.
Well,
So-
at this juncture, that's probably a discussion that has to wait for next year's budget building, because we have what we have, and
Give it the whole report, I remember.
Okay,
very
remember
well.
that, right?
Yeah.
so we probably need to
It was good.
keep it as it is. But,
You know, I think we should be more than willing to revisit that report to see if things have changed, stayed the same. I don't know. I
Very
mean,
well done report. Yeah.
I think the worst thing the town can do, in my opinion, is pay as you throw.
It's in the report.
That's it.
That, absolutely, there's no
That's
doubt
in-
about that.
that's
Not
in
to
the-
mention, you know, you gotta go buy the bags, and
well,
it's just,
that was an option, that was explored.
I think it's a terrible option.
Well, that's why, well, Frank, that's why it was explored
Right.
and put aside.
Yeah.
But, I mean, to your point, what I would suggest is that if you wanna look at that report, because it talked about that, it talked about curbside pickup throughout town, and what we're currently doing, and
There's an option of Steve,
there was another,
of doing the hauling and buying
oh,
the
right,
truck.
we're having in-house as opposed to outside haulers, like his staff. Oh, buy equipment so that he could do the hauling through Public Works. But, you know, let me suggest, Frank, get a hold at some point of a copy and peruse it, and if you decide, hey, come on, guys, put it on the table. I know I've already looked, so I'm happy with.
Okay, you wanna leave this on there for next month, and Ken can dig that report out?
Yeah, sure you get it.
The only problem with leaving this is, as Lynn said, if we make a change, we gotta make it tonight.
Yeah,
No,
because,
I mean-
yes, because if you're gonna make a change, it would be a change to the ordinance, and we have to do
Right, and then
public hearing in
public hearing.
September, because
Yeah.
the permits go on sale in
Right.
September.
So I would argue against that, Dan, really.
Okay.
For now, for now.
So the motion on the table is
We think
To keep it like it is, what you see in front of you.
when would we talk, if we were gonna change it, when would that be?
Just leave it on the agenda and just give you the information from the report, you can have this,
It has to be done by,
Well, we can't, yeah, I think
Can't do
the
it.
point is, we can't do it
Can't do
for
it.
this fiscal year, but my thought is if you want to address it as we build next year's budget, we would have to put more money in, so it's more heavily subsidized than it already is, to the tune of about 50,000.
48,000.
You could leave it on unfinished business, get the report, and then discuss it.
For next year, not for this year.
Maria, when
It's already September.
when do we find out if the tipping fees change?
I think we've already.
I think we've already been
We've already
noticed.
have gotten the numbers,
Yeah.
they're going up, not significantly, but they're going up.
I think Steve spoke, remember, we talked about that a few months
Last
ago.
month.
Yeah.
We signed the agreement.
They're already going
It's
up.
already signed.
Steve, can't remember, we.
Yeah, it was in last month's package, I think. What was it? The
I read
contract?
it a while
July,
ago.
I think it was
It
July.
all has to be done by July.
So unfinished business?
Well, I word it
Oh, first we
differently.
have the motion.
Yeah, I would word it differently, actually, if we finished.
I just don't wanna kick the can down the road. I mean, if we don't wanna do it, we won't do it. We just have it now.
What does it
Won't be able
say?
to do it this time for
We have enough to
the
finish this.
sticker sales coming up in
No,
September, so.
No, it just says fees and regulations, that's okay to leave it like that. No, that's fine, it doesn't, it just says we can talk about it.
Okay, do we need that vote on Cal's motion? Yes.
All in favor?
All in favor of Cal's motion?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, item G, consideration, discussion, and possible action, proposed amendment to Exeter Code of Ordinances, Chapter 42, taxation, Article 6, tax exemption to certain persons over the age of 65 years or fully disabled, Section 42-156, exemption of persons over the age of 65 that are fully disabled. And let's see, we have correspondence carried here. And basically this, I guess, reading this, Jim, they're just changing all the filing dates now?
It is, that's
all
what it
it
is.
is.
1 month?
It's making it more aligned with IRS debt filing deadlines.
So, okay.
That's been under discussion for some time. So once again, for discussion, Dan, I move that we post this for public hearing in
Okay.
September. That's the resolution in support of amending, providing tax relief over the age of.
That's a motion.
Changing the date, changing the date.
To publish the
That's what
ordinance,
it
not the
is.
resolution.
Yes,
The resolution was done already.
Right, that's what it is, that's what it is, Jim. Sorry.
No, I second it. Any discussion?
Lynn, can you capture that correctly for me? Because I realize I'm reading off the wrong piece of information.
It's instead of $5 for a pair of pants, it's $4.
Any discussion?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, Frank?
Aye.
There you go, okay. Item 10, unfinished business. Status, transfer station purchase.
Okay, we are awaiting the final changes that have been approved by the planning board to the final subdivision. And the surveyor has not yet gotten to that. I hope that we will get it shortly. I've been expecting it for the last month. I've been keeping after her. She informs me that she's tremendously busy, but we don't want another extension of the lease, and everything else is falling into place. So, one other thing, the new attorney that we have involved is really before he's got things on line. We got a commitment from the title insurance company for approval. So we're moving along in that aspect. We're kind of stalled right now, waiting for the surveyor just to put a couple of bounds in and give us some final approval. Bill, our planner, has already approved the preliminary, so he's just awaiting that. So hopefully we'll get that soon. We'll keep after the surveyor. So far, my keeping after her has not produced the result that I was hoping it would. That's what I'll get.
Item B, discussion, charter changes, staggering of council terms and financial town meetings.
I sent the draft 3 to Jim responded back with comments, and I'm just gonna make them give it to the council. And I guess we'll just put it on the table for now until we discuss the next charter.
Yeah, I can tell you, the
Which, are you talking about the staggered
staggered
terms?
terms, what Ken sent me was very well done. There were just it was a stylistic thing that he needs to do, I think, in order to have it conform to the way the publication goes out to the people. Ken's put together a very acceptable way to stagger the terms. So that's it. I sent it back to Ken today, he sent it to me, I got it back to him today. And now it's, as soon as Ken.
So you'll get it to us and we'll talk about it.
Mirroring what some other communities went forward to do.
Without language, we have to amend our charter.
Right.
But
It doesn't speak to what it is, that there's few public people out here. We're talking about staggered terms possibly for council, and his,
Well, I just thought that it makes sense if you had 5 newbies like myself. It's quite a learning curve. I've never done this before, so I mean, I'm starting to understand what's going on now, about time. But if you have 5 people that are brand new, that's not good for the town. So if we stagger them, it's a safeguard. We always have people here that have been here. The only way to do it, without having a special election, is to have 4-year terms, so they align with the normal elections. I'm not really for that, but I think it's a good compromise to have staggered terms.
okay, well, thanks for explaining. What do you mean you're not for it?
Well, I mean, it's a compromise at 4 years, right?
He's learning, but he's doing a great job, everybody. He's doing a great job.
Okay.
I tease.
Maybe that's a good point for
You're
the
doing
staggered
fine.
terms.
You're doing just fine,
Thank you.
maybe.
Next up, comprehensive plan review of draft of request for proposals and funding.
Mr. President, honorable members of the town council, Bill D. Goswell, town planner. I believe I sent to this honorable body a 12-page request for proposals, it's draft form. Right now, I'm receiving comments from the planning board and town council members on the draft. I think what we did here is we had 11 deliverables, right? So when we go out to bid, we know that the town that's funding this is gonna get 11 deliverables. And they range, depending on what section of, we want to begin at page 3 of the task table that they're applying for. Each task table, and there's many of them, will directly tell the consultant what is expected of them and when the product shall be received by the town council and planning board. I'm still receiving comments from the planning board as we speak. As soon as I actually compile all the responses, I'll be going out for RFP. We will have a selection committee. It'll be a member from the planning board, member from the town council, and myself. The evaluation criteria is on the back. It reads from 1 to 10. And it's balanced through experience, professional qualifications, knowledge, project understanding. We want a product that is very tangible, consumable by the public. We want it less narrative, less PhD, less abstract, and I want everyone in Exeter to be able to read it and understand what the elevator speech is, who we are, where we want to be in 20 years. You can have it thick, you can have it thin, I'm gonna have it. No, it's a good point, Mr. President, you know, some of the successes we had in work is we had a 2-page 11 by 17 pull-out. If you just wanted to kind of peruse what Exeter was all about, you would open 11 by 17 and it would tell you exactly where we want to be today and in 20 years. So we're going to do something a little different. I'm very excited about it. We have a healthy budget thanks to this, the town council and the people of Exeter who said yes to the referendum. So once I get this out, we'll get it out the door and we can begin having fun.
When do you think you have it ready to go out to bid?
It's actually ready now. I'm just, out of deference to the planning board, they asked me several times to put it on the docket so that they can discuss it. By law, the planning board actually drives a planning document, which is a comprehensive plan. So I gave them a deadline by the end of the month, mid-month. So I'm hoping, once I get that information back, I can get it on the street. Oh, it should be earlier than that. I want it to be earlier than that. I'd love to get it out, you know, at the end of August. right? I get the feelers out, get the people looking at it, and then we discuss what kind of boards and what kind of interaction we have. I'd love to have the town council and specific stakeholders involved in the process. They don't necessarily have to be in a committee form, it could be an interview. It could be one-on-one interview with business community, the agricultural community, whatever it is. The disc, I heard, the disc and recreation. You have a recreational component of this, and that's something you could discuss. You can tie that in with open space grant funding, recreational development funding. So once it's in the comp plan, it is a baseline, and you do get extra points when you do apply for the DM recreational open space grants. So again, it's 13 sections and components of what makes this town tick. And it's going to be a very lively experiment to see exactly all the different thoughts in a room. And then what are we to expect in 5-10 years? We talk about solar, sustainable, but what's next? Is it going to be storage? Is it going to be battery storage? And what does this look like? How do we incorporate the aging of Rhode Islanders? We talk about accessory dwelling units. We need to do more. We've got a good jump start on housing and low-income housing. And how do we address issues that we're all dealing with? Is sustainable and green energy. So we have a lot in front of us, but I'm excited, and I can't thank everyone enough for their support.
Thank you, Bill.
Can I speak to this for just a minute? Having been around this process a long time, years ago, and most recently, when you say you're excited about it, all we have to do is peruse what you presented to us.
Kind of long.
And you're excited, and you want to help us. And if you just walked in from Timbuktu, I'd say, what is this talk? But you've got the 30 years of experience, and it shows. And I appreciate it. I don't know if I speak for anyone else, but I appreciate
I
what
appreciate it.
what you presented to us, Bill. It's extremely comprehensive. And I'm glad you're excited, because you're gonna make this happen, because, you're the guy.
Well, thank you.
We'll work with you, but you're gonna make this good.
Thank you for the kind words, but really what happens is the community drives this.
So I know.
I'm in an orchestra, I'm just in front. I appreciate the kind words. And maybe the only reason why it's 12 pages is because I wanted to outline every task so that the people paying the bill knows exactly they're buying the blue book, and the blue book costs this, and that's what they're gonna receive at the end of this. I didn't want any of the vagueness to be included. So that's the only reason why normally an RFP wouldn't be as lengthy as this, but thank you.
Thank you very much. I would vote to, I would move to put this a request for RFPs as soon as you're able to provide it to the clerk for advertising. Does that sound like an appropriate message?
Yes, sir.
Something close to what I said?
Yes, sir.
Pretty close?
Very close. Very accurate.
Is there a motion?
Make a motion.
I made a motion.
I second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye. Thank you, Bill.
Mr. President,
Yeah.
10B had a second part that was kind of hidden. I know I didn't see it
Oh.
earlier today, that we kind of skipped over. And I wanted to address that.
Oh,
Go back to
financial
10.
time.
Yeah, 10B
Yeah,
is the second half of that financial town meeting. I had suggested that the last financial town meeting, we have a quorum, a minimum amount of people is 50. The meeting started at 7. We weren't able to start until 7:30 because we didn't have 50 people until 7:30. So we got it by the skin of our teeth, otherwise we wouldn't have been able to have it. And I view that as, I'm all for the government, by the people, for the people, of course, absolutely. But I'm thinking of some kind of a safeguard. If we can't get a minimum quorum, that can be dangerous if we just have 50 people and you have a special interest in town. We've had issues in town where they could have brought their friends and they could have made a motion, and they could have, because it's such a small amount of people, the motion could carry, and they could make increases for a certain department for just any amount of money that somebody throws out. So it can be dangerous. We used to have, I'm told, hundreds of people that came to the financial town meeting. And unfortunately now, we don't. not right now anyway. So I'm thinking, I wanna keep it the way it is, but I wanna put a safeguard in. If there's not a quorum, do we kick the can for the next day? And if we can't get a quorum then what happens? Maybe some kind of a contingency, that if we're unable to reach the said quorum, then and only then maybe the council can decide. I wanted to clarify that, because it might have been misconstrued. And I'm not for getting rid of what we have, I'm for adding a safeguard to it. Maybe not exactly what I said, but maybe something that we came up with as a group.
I'd like to speak to that. I'd like to speak to that.
Go
You know,
ahead, Cal.
I spoke to this before when you raised the issue. And you didn't raise it because of anything I said, but I had to follow up. It's been suggested tonight that 25 or 10 people out there would know better than 5 people sitting here who spend plenty of time going line by line with the treasurer. Treasurer, do we go through the budget with a fine-tooth comb with your assistance? So to suggest that 5 or 10 people would know better than those of us that have worked with the treasurer, I don't think is an appropriate observation, which is not what you said. You're speaking to the opposite. And I appreciate that, Mike. Thank you.
Well, thank you for that.
Okay.
Well, can I just
Ken,
add, I didn't see either, but I was gonna report on my,
On your report?
Right, so I've been gathering the information, wanted to find out what happened in East Greenwich, because they made a similar change, they got rid of it. But also, I went back and I looked at the election and the charter amendment that failed that we put in for all there, and I'll give you that information. And then, if, different options on what different scenarios and other towns do. And now just like a discussion go forward. But we already have, have the tables for the percentage of the voters already made up, we discussed that.
You gonna give us that later on tonight?
No.
Oh, another time?
Yeah, I'll send that out, but it's gonna be a big packet, I'll just send you the links to the articles, I'm not gonna print it, the stories that they, the interests, you just put the link in the article.
Well, Dan, and I appreciate that, because when Pat brought it to our attention that it did fail before, in what, 2000 something?
2004.
2004, I wasn't sitting here, and I don't like that approach either, because that's that all-day referendum. You either vote it or you vote no, and 50 or 60 people come and vote, and if somebody votes no, then we end up, there is no budget. And I don't like that. So, you don't have to shake your head and agree with me. I'm just saying, so thank you for bringing that to us. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Welcome. All right, let's go back to item B. Status, Split Rock Mobile Park electrical issues.
Nothing from Randy, the electrical inspector says he's heard nothing, and we haven't heard anything from Mr. Pond.
Wow. But she told me this afternoon, Jim. This has been going on since I was in high school. How about you, Cal?
Yeah, it's been out there, for sure.
I can remember reading about this trailer park in the Journal Bulletin 40 years ago. It was the same issues. I think it's time to send Jim after.
Okay.
Jim, you want to come back and advise us?
Sure.
Yeah.
In the past, the one thing that I found that has been helpful, that has assisted, is when the council has directed me to advise the attorney for the owner that we were going to move forward unless something is done, and that attorney usually has been very helpful. So I can write a similar letter if you'd like me to. Assuming that Paul Gozer is still the attorney for Split Rock, he's been very good, very helpful. So if that's the council's wish.
Yeah, quick question. In our ordinances, can you fine them per day for not complying?
I'll take a look at that. We've never taken that approach. We've usually said that unless it was done, we were going to call them in for a show cause as to why the license shouldn't be.
The thing is, it's perpetual. It's every year.
Well,
It was quiet for a couple of years anyway.
frequent, Dan. Frequent.
It's one thing a pothole. This is the electric lines, the overhead electric.
No,
So,
No, well, Dan, do you want to make the motion? Go ahead, and I'll second it.
I'll make a motion to have Jim Maruzak, research the law and go after them with a vengeance.
No.
That can't be the motion.
Okay, there's a second over here. The lady speaks.
That's it.
Yes, you can put that in my motion, Joe. I mean, literally, where this has been going on forever.
Yeah, Jim, you use your best judgment,
There's a
Jim.
second track.
I second it.
That's right, you did.
I apparently don't scare too many people, so that way might not have the teeth.
Well, then maybe you need to listen to Dan, I don't know.
Okay.
Olivia, yeah.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, next up, E, public meetings, live streaming and video conferencing. Is that?
Yeah, give me an update, no, we put together a package for the library because there are state funds that are gonna allow us to buy equipment for that. And so James, Angie, myself, and the library director are working on it. We have a real nice setup, it will work perfectly here, it's simple, and it would just be an extension of Zoom, but it would be a permanent setup.
For live streaming?
For live streaming.
Live streaming.
Question, do you live stream that on the town's webpage? Is that how he does it?
It would be live streamed via the link on Zoom, which could be put on the town webpage.
Because North Kingston, they do theirs, it's live stream on their webpage, they've been doing that for years.
Right, but they spend a tremendous amount of money on it.
Yeah, okay.
They spend
What
a
is
lot
cost?
of it. Our package is, the grant was 8,000, so we're going right up to 8,000, 9,000. But we put in for a 65-inch flat screen TV, and obviously you don't need that, you need something that fits there. The camera will probably have to fit here with the sound that goes on the desk. It's a very simple setup, they're made for it, they're called Zoom rooms, and you buy the whole package from the company. And the only thing that's not covered is the installation, and I talked to Maria, the stimulus money, the COVID money, you can use that to pay for this kind of system. So we may use some of that money to pay for the installation while James can install.
Is there a discount for two systems?
Well, we could, yeah.
Yeah, and we also have the council, there's a contingency if we decide this is important. I mean, people have asked about this, other towns do it.
It's not necessary. What we're doing here is necessary, so it's
Right,
it's open government, which is always a
Yeah,
good
but
thing,
then it's a
but it's not
courtesy.
necessary to spend the money.
No, but it's a courtesy to anybody that wants to tune in to see what we're up to.
They can come here.
I don't
Why don't they come here?
We had larger attendance when we were doing Zoom though.
Well,
Public
Zoom.
attendance.
Who couldn't hear or didn't thought we weren't.
This is true, but we
it's-
only had 9 people tonight, but on
Yeah.
the Zoom, every
Yeah.
month, we had 12, 13 people on. 14,
Even
15,
more.
But
17,
now
20.
they may just wanna do a live stream and tune in and see what we're doing.
They can watch it on YouTube for free.
Later on.
Yeah, it's not
Can you
live,
live stream
it's
it?
not live.
Well, they can't interact anyway.
Yeah, we can live stream on YouTube also.
They wouldn't be able to interact anyway.
No, but with Zoom, you'd be able to interact. With Zoom, we have the license already. We pay $200 a year. And so if you ever wanted to, it's not just the council, but say the zoning board or somebody else wanted to interact with the public, they'd be able to do it a lot easier than what the setup is we have.
It's on, pardon me, I'm sincerely confused.
Yeah.
We don't have to do this. Open government is
Right.
always a good thing if we, on the side of being more open as opposed to not. But they're not allowed to interact with our meeting unless they're here, correct?
Unless, that's up to you, that's your call.
That's
a
not,
policy.
that's not the
If
case?
it's Zoom,
The
if it's Zoom.
OMA requires that the public body be in person for voting and such. The public body may allow the public to interact virtually.
Okay, and if we set that up that way and our communications fail that night, does that nix the meeting? It does, so that's something to consider.
If
We've
you-
had nothing but problems with the communications. I don't think we should spend the money and have this issue of hanging over our heads of having a problem with the meeting. Just my opinion.
If you're holding a public hearing, it could mix the public hearing, but otherwise.
This would just be live stream,
But
they
this
should watch,
should,
not
this should
interact.
work a lot
Yeah,
better.
don't you think?
It
Yeah.
should.
Okay.
If it doesn't,
Because right now we have the $179 10-year-old camera working, and that seems to be doing all right. I think we paid it off for a few years ago. And, but the system is nice, it sets up, the sound is, it's just little boxes they put from it. It's made for it.
No, it was lots of money, it's just add up, you got $7,000 for him and $8,000 for this, and
No, it's probably, you know, if you just want without the big TV that we're getting, it's probably like $7,000. TV's probably about $4,000, $3,000, so you have to spend grant money, about $2,000 money, but you probably get the whole system for $3,500, $4,000. And then it's permanent for everybody.
That's why I paid for that.
Live stream.
It would just be the Zoom, it's just the equipment, we're using the same
Now, when
Zoom.
these people wanna watch on live stream, then they gotta do the Zoom ID number and everything.
Yeah.
And then you have to feed it into their head that it's not interactive.
Right, but I believe you can have the same Zoom number for every Zoom meeting. So every town council meeting from now until next year, you can have the same exact.
That you call in with the same number?
Same number,
Same
same,
phone number,
same,
not the same.
same meeting number, so.
Yeah?
Yeah.
That's a twist, isn't it, Lynn?
Yeah.
Then you never post to her.
I've been on one for now, for 4 months with the state, and it's the same exact link. And they said that's the only link they use for that one training.
So it can be just they watch, or it can be they watch and participate.
So that's the policy decision of council.
Yeah.
But it looks like eventually it's.
it could be either. If you decide not to let him interact, don't have to worry about it if it fails. It won't affect that meeting.
Right, so when you
Yeah,
just
drive down there,
policy.
if they find something they don't like, quickly.
You can record also.
Just of the opinion, they should come here, not so you shouldn't, but
No, this is just here for discussion, we're not making a decision tonight.
Well, you can file it at the library, you can see if they would have a meeting up there.
Okay.
So, and then, see if you like it or not.
Yeah.
I would just suggest we keep it in the.
Yeah, keep it on here, yeah, okay. All right. Item F, Department of Environmental Management response to letter from council regarding notice of violations of town garage. Talking to Lynn today, we've received no answer.
oh, that's no answer, huh?
I would call somebody.
Somebody call them,
Yeah. It is. It's been a month almost.
It's been a month, so. Actually, no, it's been 3 weeks, we've been late last month, so. Okay,
so call them their status on
yes,
the
you,
meeting.
please. July communication number 4, letter from Tammy Raffin, questions regarding perpetual care at cemetery number EX003. And that would be Maria. I guess we've got a little report here.
Yeah, we do. Maria gave us some advice, which is
It's like,
good.
we spoke to, Steve is willing to take them on, to take on this, there's actually 2 cemeteries. She has about $3,000 that her family set aside, and we can take that money, we have a separate account for perpetual care of cemeteries.
Now, is it just one cemetery or 2?
It's actually 2.
Yeah, 'cause she's got the other sign here, but she
She
doesn't
wasn't
have.
sure, but then Steve went to look at it, and it's 2 cemeteries, and
It looks like someone's taking care of them.
they have up until, she's afraid that it's not going to continue.
This is to make it continue. For discussion at least, I'll move that we authorize Maria to accept the 3,000 and add it to the perpetual care account.
I second that.
So Maria, does that seem like that will take care of it?
Well, I mean, it,
No, but that's some money that
yeah,
can
absolutely.
compensate the taking.
The
the
DPW
perpetual
will take it
care.
on as their part of their duties when they go and take care of the other cemeteries.
Yeah.
Under the whole issue, I noticed she asks about attention to a road, and I wonder if we shouldn't include some, unless it's already been taken care of, when that the road is actually a state road that she's speaking of. Do you know if that's, she understands that, do you know, or not?
I don't know because I didn't, Steve put it in the email, but I don't know if it was communicated to her.
I think we should, so I move that we direct Lynn to respond to Ms. Rathman, tell her that we approve the, accepting the money, and that unfortunately we can't address the road issues because it's a state road. Words to that effect.
Have a motion?
It is.
I'll second. Any other discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye. Thank you, Maria, for working with us.
Sorry, you need to, have the other motion to accept the $3,000 and to professional care. First and second.
Oh,
For the cemetery.
Oh, yeah.
Or you got another motion?
No, you haven't.
I made that motion, and I think it was seconded, and Dan
I
just gonna
seconded it.
call the vote. Right, Dan?
Yeah.
You don't call it.
No, we voted on sending a letter.
Oh, okay, okay, call the vote on that. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, number 11, reports of offices, boards, and committees, town council assistance report.
I think everything was covered that I was working on last night, so.
Solicitors report.
Yeah, there are a few matters that I'd like to address in executive session. It would be item A1, which is the green development cases. Items B1 and E1, which have to do with the dog complaint. And item F, which is the transfer station. Well, actually, transfer station I took care of, basically, what it's saying right there, so we don't need to go into that. I would also ask that Lynn, with the council's permission, add the Exeter West Greenwich Regional School District surcharge case to the list that would be on the executive session, so that every month, in case there's something that comes up, we will have that automatically on the agenda so that we can go into executive session. I can tell you right now, in open session, that in that case, we did answer the case on behalf of everyone.
It was huge.
We brought a counterclaim against them, and just as we said in our letter when we responded to their inquiry the first time, we brought a request, which I think is a fairly decent one, for attorney's fees, because in any contractual case, there's a statute that says that if the case is brought without a reasonable legal or factual basis, that attorney's fees can be awarded. And quite frankly, I think we have a darn good case that they had no grounds to surcharge us, given the language in the statute. So that's going to be an interesting case. They have not yet responded to our counterclaim, so it's not due yet, but I'll be giving you an update on that from time to time. It's not due. That's it.
All right.
I have one question.
Sorry.
Maria, I was told that Maria had said that they put the $34,000 in the budget,
The new budget.
in the new budget anyway. Is that true?
Maria will know better.
It's not true.
No, so every year stands alone. So what they requested for us in fiscal year '22 was what they needed. But in their calculation, they included it as if so like their increase in their illustration was 608,000. In our illustration, in our budget, it was 706,000, because the 34,000 plus the resource officer that we contributed to. So they put it in their illustration as if for 21, we had paid it. And then for 22, when they asked for X, the comparison was less than we had in our budget.
Is that last part, the comparison with less?
Was
What do
less
you mean?
on their illustration than it was on ours. Because the resource officer came out of contingency, which was voted by the council, and then the 34,000 we didn't give them because we level funded.
Okay.
So
Thank you.
they didn't add it on, they just,
Okay, we didn't remove any reports to the consent agenda. Any other administrative issues?
Can I mention one, please? We got the pass-through, thanks to Lynn in the clerk's office, from the Attorney General's office, and I keep reading this, and it says, well, this is about open meetings, but, you know, I like this piece here on the second page. Although there may be certain particular circumstances where granting in-person attendance to an unlimited number of people may not be feasible, like if the room's too small, for example, due to fire codes or health occupancy restrictions, then it goes, open meetings must be available to the public for in-person attendance. We know that, we honor that, but I'm thinking of a situation, and for the record, every time there's a public hearing, such as the one coming up a week from Wednesday, we already make arrangements to hold it in a larger venue. But if for some reason there was some issue on the agenda, and suddenly, and I don't anticipate this, but suddenly people show up, I mean, I read this to say, well, wait a minute, I mean, there are fire codes here, you can't all come in. And so I know, don't look at me like that. I read this like,
Look at this, Cal, I'm sorry.
No, I mean, we have business to do here tonight, and now,
Can't help it.
but Jim, you know what I'm saying. Suddenly, people arrive, and then we say, well, no, you can't, I don't know, what's the number posted, 40 some people. I'm just saying, the way I read this, we always cancel meetings, okay, well, then we can't meet. But I read this like, anybody know what I'm trying to say? Like, if there's too many people, but it says you can only have so many, shouldn't we be able to meet? And he says it's good with, never mind, I'm just raising the issue. Let's go on.
Okay.
We're not addressing, we're just not solving it, I just thought we should address.
Go to communications, Cal. Let's see, number 3, we
That's
got.
all you.
Number 5 is for National Grid joint or identical pole petition East Shore Road relocate existing.
It's all,
Relocate existing JO pole number 19.
Yeah.
This is, just, they just need our
It's a-
approval. This is. what
no, it's a
the-
pro forma thing, I don't think we need to
We
approve
usually
it.
do a motion to
Motion to
approve the
approve.
petition.
But,
Under
it
Yeah.
wasn't,
Steve's already approved it.
right. So wasn't on new business, no?
I know.
Okay, so motion to approve National Grid relocating the pole, so,
That's your motion?
yeah.
So moved.
No, second.
Second.
Yeah.
Okay.
All in favor? Aye.
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 Okay, so 3, 5, 6 we got, 10. 10 we got. 11 is Mr. Glorio, letter regarding taxes assessed on motor vehicle account. Once again, the state of Rhode Island screwed somebody. I was reading all of that because now you can mail the plates and they say it's the only thing you gotta hand them in. But there's some, so they're looking for.
There's always been a rule that you have to file a certain form and turn in your plates, otherwise you're gonna continue to get charged the auto excise
You have
tax.
to turn the plates in
Right,
person,
they
but
didn't
it
do
was,
that.
but it was COVID and they moved, so, yeah.
Right, but that, now that affidavit is gonna be, from what I understand, it's turned in, and then they're gonna go retro, the state's gonna go, the DMV's gonna go retro, and then once we get that, we can give them their money back? Is that how it is right now? I think that's the latest,
Okay.
from what I read.
I was reading the whole thing, it was interesting, though.
Yeah.
Because I've been in that situation, you have to go stand in line to hand the plate. Yeah.
Yeah, and many people don't realize that when you get the tax bill, it's actually for the year, it's 2 years.
1 year behind.
It's 1 year behind, and I think that was one of his issues at the outset. But I've spoken to Carrie, maybe you have too. I mean, I think she handled it very nicely, and I don't know if it needs any response from us. If you think it does.
He's got it under control, so.
Yeah, when either we write him and say, because he did address it to, didn't he address it to us? No, he didn't really. Did he tell us to bring it
He
to
sent
our
it to us,
attention?
he sent it to us.
Well, that's what makes me think we might direct Lynn to write to him and say that, that the issue's been resolved to the tax assessor's office. And,
That hasn't been resolved yet, she's waiting
no,
for
but
the
I mean,
correspondence
it's
from the
not-
DPW.
Right, but it's not an issue that we can address as a council, right?
Yeah, so
And he was part of a conference too, I think she speaks to
Yeah,
that
she
there.
did,
She has a hotline to DMV, and they did a three-way conference. So she did everything she could to help them address the issue. But it's up to you if you think we need to.
Yeah, I think that Carrie's got it under control.
Leave it alone,
Yeah,
that's fine.
yeah. Okay, and the last correspondence is number 13, Ms. Gira Russo, letter of complaint regarding ongoing issue with neighbors' loose dogs.
And we're gonna talk about that, are we not, in executive session?
Yeah, but I think there's some people here.
They're waiting, so.
Oh.
Yeah, are you Miss
I'm Miss Russo.
Gira Russo? All right, I did pronounce it correctly. Yeah, this is something you could discuss with them outside of the executive session? or-
Maybe after the executive session, depends on what the town council directs me to do. We received it, and it's been under review, and I'm gonna discuss with the town council really whether there are any options for us other than what you said so far. That's for executive session, because it has to do with investigating matters.
So are you suggesting that we wait to hear what happens in executive session? Is that, I'm just asking.
You could, you won't learn what happened in executive session, because that's privileged. That's why we go into executive session. It has to do with litigation strategy or complaints, civil complaints, that sort of thing. But there will be action taken, more than likely. I just can't discuss that with you now because I haven't discussed it with the council.
Okay, so do we find out what action is going to be taken? Am I supposed to be standing when I talk to you?
No, that's okay. I know. Believe me, I'm
So,
not royalty.
okay. So are we going to find out whatever the action is that's going to be taken?
I'm sure you will. The council usually does have some kind of communication through the clerk to the people who are seeking or awaiting some kind of information. That's usually what happens.
Okay.
I have no doubt that the council will.
Are they allowed, can they, they're here now, can they
They
speak?
can, you can address the council.
If you like
probably
to
can't
speak,
speak.
I have a question for you, for sure. But can I just ask you quickly, I'm sorry that, you know, you've gone through this and we're all aware of it, and it's unfortunate. Since these, we have a communication from you folks dated the 23rd that I'm looking at. Have you, since the 23rd, are they still, have you seen them come back yet? The dog, I'm talking about the dogs.
No, that's the last time we,
Since,
they killed the livestock.
That is the last.
yeah, which,
So one of the concerns I know I have, and I sat
Sir,
back.
can you identify
Yeah,
yourself for the
who-
record?
I'm Brian Schroeder, 109 Sunderland Road. One of the concerns, I've sat back on this, it's been out there for a number of years. Haven't really been participating much, but now it's been thrown at my feet and I gotta deal with it. The dogs did come onto my property, and they did kill some chickens. I now know that they know where to go to hunt. They're gonna get out again, and they're gonna show up on my property. That's almost a given, because they've already had a meal. I chased the dog with a chicken in its mouth off my property. So now my question is what if something were to get in between the meal and the dog? The dog's in hunt mode now. It's mine. It's clicked over, and I have cats. I have a 4-year-old grandson, a 2-year-old granddaughter.
Living with us.
Living with us in the house. They go out to the chickens, they feed, they do things as kids do in the property. So this responsibility of caring for these dogs is now thrown at my feet, and I have to deal with it. I can't turn my back, it's my responsibility. So, we're here looking for some help, and I understand you're in an executive meeting and you're reviewing it, but how far are we gonna let this ramp up?
It's been a long time, 2
You know.
years.
Like I said, I was on the sidelines thinking, okay, nothing. Well, it's now happened. Do we wait till the next big step before we make a decision? It is our responsibility now. It's my responsibility. And I'm here to try to resolve it the right way, proper. Put the responsibility back on the people. And, you know, I know we were told the fence is, it's always something. The dogs jump the fence, the landscaper,
God, let the
this,
door open.
yeah, this or that, and it doesn't matter anymore. You know, they're coming. I don't know when they're coming, but they're coming. So
And I had a
live
discussion with
with it.
Dina. She was there when I first got the chickens, and I said, I'm very concerned. I'm really, really worried that, you know, something's gonna happen. Well, let's just hope this is the last time it happens, and we know it's not. And our 2-year-old granddaughter is severely disabled. She's wheelchair bound. She's on a feeding tube. She's nonverbal. And I know what our rights are when they come on the property.
But, you know, just think if you weren't able, you know, if you had to be concerned about your backyard every hour, that something might, you know, you can't go do what you want to do in your backyard with your kids, with your animals, with your things, because somebody's not fulfilling their responsibility to their animals. I'm responsible to my animals. I'm responsible, you know, if this were me, it would be handled. It would be done. You don't have to ask me twice.
May I just ask if are you aware that there has been follow-up? I mean, I'm sorry Dina said let's hope.
What kind of follow-up? We
Well-
know that the state troopers go over there every time.
Well, that's
We
what-
know that animal control goes over every
Right,
time. We know
right.
that they're fined. We know that they've been given extensions. We know that Steve Matchek, over the last 2 years, has not gone over once until this last time. Not once. And he's been very dismissive. I know Lori's had that. She's had that experience personally with him.
No,
Very disappointing. Very disappointing.
no, it's the reason we need to see what kind of
They,
action we
yeah,
can
they
take
come
on
running on
your
our
behalf.
property. 6 o'clock in the morning, Peter was in my pool with a black hat, black outfit on. I saw him out of my bedroom window and he scared the crap out of me. And I said, can I help you? And he said, I'm looking for my dog. You know, and that's it. Not, oh, excuse me, I'm Peter from, you know, next door. I'm sorry, I'm looking for my dogs. They got out again. You know, just very dismissive, very entitled to be on everybody's property.
Just, if you go around to neighbors, there's always yet another story. You know, I know Leo's next to me on the north side. There's another man with the gate. You know, he's told me that his father was out in the yard and one of the dogs did jump on his father, you know, put his paws up
Knocked him over.
and knocked him over. You know, so, you know, you just go around to some of the neighbors and they always have, you know, something that, yeah, you know, they either are going, you know, walking through this way or that way or, you know.
What do you guys want to see happen?
Excuse me?
What do you want to see happen?
Actually, if I can, I would like to address that, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Because it is very dismissive when I call in. I'm told that it's a civil matter, there's not a lot the town can do, and that's not true. And I don't have to tell your solicitor, because I'm sure he's well schooled in what can be done. There are 3 statutes that the town can act under. First and foremost, you should be asking that their homeowner's policy be in effect for up to $100,000 if those dogs bite, or worse than that, do something to any of the children, let alone the adults, that are on their own property. We have children running on our property, within our confines, doing nothing wrong, that those dogs have chased. The town is on notice that if they bite one of my children, there's going to be a substantial problem. We have called the dog officer 22 times.
between March 28th of last year and November 1st. And now it's ramped up again. I have spent way too much of my personal time going through your town council meetings, tracking what's happening. There has been misinformation given to you by the owners of those dogs. And in fact, in November, there was a comment that the solicitor sent out asking for information about what was going on. I couldn't really tell from the minutes, and I'm sorry. But there was something that stated that you had been told one of the dogs had been euthanized.
I think there were 2 cases at the time.
Okay.
Different, yeah.
It wouldn't surprise me if they did tell you that.
No, I don't think so.
It was a different case.
It's just, it's something, every time I call, I'm not doing anything wrong. I walk my dog on my property on a leash. I look like a lunatic. My children, who are teenagers, will not go outside without one of us.
No, I thought these dogs were I mean, aside from the chickens, I was led to believe they're non-violent. That's the first question that I asked when I heard about it.
Who did you ask?
Who did you ask, the owners?
Everybody's definition of aggressiveness is different.
I think it was a
They
animal
chased us
control
in our
or
driveway
Steve Matz
barking.
checked somebody, I don't remember who it
Oh,
was.
Steve doesn't know.
All right, well,
Steve doesn't know, he doesn't get
are
involved.
they violent?
Yes.
Aside from eating the chickens or?
They have
people- I guess
chased
people
me in
do
my
this.
driveway barking at me. And I've been out with Brian, my daughter, and the kids. You know, Hadley was,
I'm not
no,
disputing
I
the
know,
magnitude of anything you're saying.
I know.
I love dogs, and I know that dogs could bark at the neighbors when they go in the yard, but that doesn't mean they're gonna bite them. I'm just trying to distinguish whether or not they're that type of dog or not. That's what I'm asking.
Can I ask a question?
But any dog can be a biter.
Can I ask a couple of questions? Just-
Yes.
Sir, you said that there was an incident with one of the neighbors where the dog actually came up and touched and
Lean
came at the
on
person,
or
and the
I-
person reported to you that they felt that they were in danger at that time?
he said that the dog came up and put his paws up on his dad, and his dad fell over
On the father?
on his father.
Okay,
Yes.
and was it in a threatening fashion, the dog did this?
I wasn't there.
Can you find out
I-
more about that incident? When was it? Would that person be willing to come forward? That's number one. Number
Yep.
two, ma'am, you said that you were on your property and a dog came at you?
Yeah, they both were
And
running
you-
up my
Did you
driveway.
feel threatened when that
Yes,
happened?
yes,
Okay, have you ever reported that?
yes.
Okay.
I wrote
Would
a
you be
letter to
willing-
Cal last summer, and
About-
he responded about that exact
All right.
incident.
Ma'am and sir, do you have any
I have a
similar
copy of it.
situations where we're not talking about, livestock, but we're talking about domestic animals or human beings? Do you have any incidents where the dogs have threatened your pets?
Right,
or
I
human beings?
have the dog on video. I took a video of the dog, excuse me, as it was growling. And what I did was,
On your property, sir?
on my property, Steve Givers, 119 something, excuse me, and 119.
109.
And then what I ended up doing was I ended up going out and buy mace. I walk in my backyard with mace on. I have a shed. I have 2 cans of mace in my shed. It's horrible. It's horrible. And I believe, Cal, I sent an email to you. I'm not good with that, but I sent a video to you about the dog.
I passed the law, I didn't sit on it, I just wanted
Did you
to
get
know.
that video?
Well, some time ago?
Yes.
I think so, it was some time ago. But I did pass that on
Yeah.
when we've addressed this, as you know, publicly, and I know that's why we're gonna address it again tonight.
I mean, I physically watched her. I have a tree stand in the back of my property. I physically watched her open the door, let those dogs out. And at one point, they were taking them into the cemetery. And you had issues with them also, Cal. Taking them into
No,
the
they've been on my property
cemetery,
as well.
running around.
They've been on my property.
I was in my tree stand, the dog's at the bottom of the tree stand, I couldn't get my phone out quick enough, and he's barking and growling at me. This is my own property. It's really, if any of you guys and ladies in here had property, you feel like you can't even go out in your backyard. We have teenagers, we've got a volleyball set lined up. I'm out there with the kids, because I'm afraid that those dogs are gonna come flying out. And that those, Peter and Marcia did nothing but lying to everybody in the town. It's always something. Always. Thank you.
Remember, it's two dogs, and they're working together,
Mm.
you know, so I know when I went running after one dog, I didn't realize the other one had already killed two of my chickens. Now, you know, obviously, they now have a hunt in their minds, you know, so.
What are our rights if they're on our property? As a
Sorry, I'm
home-
not gonna, I'm
as a
gonna
home-
discuss this with the town council and.
Because I know what animal
Yeah.
control told me, but I'm not sure if they gave me the right information.
I'm sorry, I really can't act as your attorney. Not that I'm not
Can I
sympathetic to
ask
you.
any of you?
I mean, if there was a dog threatening any of my family members, I would do what I have to do. I
Yeah.
mean, you have to protect yourself.
Right. Yeah.
You know, the sad part, one more thing, the sad part about it is, it's not the dog's fault.
Yeah.
That's the
Yeah,
sad
right,
part
it
about the
is.
whole conversation.
They're just doing
Okay?
what they.
When you have neighbors, and we're not, we're good people. You have, I don't wanna deal with this, I don't wanna be here tonight. But you have neighbors that just don't have any, consideration for any of us. We, earlier on, I wrote Marsha and Peter letters.
Mm.
I said, I'll meet you. She was at our house looking for her dogs plenty of times,
Mhm.
but she just doesn't care. You know, put up a 6-foot fence, not a 3-foot. I mean, it's, you know, after a while, it's horrible. It really.
I would really like to see them, you asked me what I'd like to see happen, I'd like to see them gone from that property. That's what I would
I
like to,
understand that.
because I don't think that it's gonna be resolved with them still there.
We haven't seen the responsibility in, what, 2
Yeah,
years
I-
now?
Yeah.
I'd just like to ask if, Lynn, are you taking notes just for us?
Sounds like irresponsibility.
That's all.
Excuse me?
Irresponsibility is what
Yeah.
it sounds like they're doing.
Is 2 years, is that when they moved there, or is that when they got the dogs?
Neither.
Neither.
We just started reporting it about
Okay.
2 years
And so
ago.
it's
We
been
tried, we
happening.
made an effort. I know my daughter who's living with us now was visiting, and she was actually able to go, because her dog was kind of going crazy and they were on my property. She was able to go up and look at the tag
Okay.
and actually get the number on the tag, which, you know, I suppose they can be approached sometimes, but this was probably 3 years ago. Called the owners, and, I mean, she's been in our driveway in the car looking for them, you know. I don't know.
You gotta be in a locked down, solid fence at minimum.
Right.
Or-
Well, I know,
or
so,
removed, it
so
sounds
is
like.
there a vicious
Yeah.
dog hearing,
We're gonna discuss that. Okay, can I tell you also, please, and I don't mean to cut things off, because you gave us a lot of information. The council's gonna go into executive session, we're gonna talk about the various options. We will get back to you, and I will tell you this also. It could be, depending upon what's discussed, that there may be an opportunity for you to give testimony under oath as to these things. Will you folks cooperate with that? If that were one of the options that's explored, because we will have to do that.
Absolutely, we have nothing to hide, yeah?
Exactly, I'm just telling you that may be a requirement, depending upon what we discuss. But otherwise, other than that, really, thank you. One thing we can't do, because this is actually under communications,
right?
the town council can hear what you have to say, but we
Mhm.
can't really give you responses, otherwise that might violate the Open Meetings Act, where you can understand the other side might say, I didn't have a chance to defend myself. So we have to watch, so we don't do that.
Mhm. But I have a
That's
question.
the
They had
law.
every right to be
Hang
here
on,
tonight.
hang on,
Oh,
that's very true, ma'am.
oh.
But we're talking about open meeting. You know, sometimes in municipal government, it's very tough and it's cumbersome,
Mhm.
because violations can occur that there are consequences for the town.
Right.
Even when you know that the quickest way to get something done is simply to grab it and do it right now, you can't. Because there are laws and procedures that are put into place by the government, usually the state,
Mm.
that have genuine rationale behind it. It's just that they often clash with what people want to do and how fast people want to do. So we have to always abide by that up here. And that's why when we're telling you, please don't get the impression that no one is listening to you. It's just that we cannot do much for you in this forum right now. What we're gonna do is go into executive session and discuss it. So you've given us a lot of information. I appreciate that. I know the council does.
I just have one other thing to say. This is the second town council meeting I've been to talk about this. One was about a year ago, and this is the second time, so, you know, for me to sit here and think that something's gonna, I'm just a little bit skeptical. But this, so
It's good to be skeptical.
And I'm just wondering what the difference is this time if it isn't the livestock. That's what I'm wondering, you know, I know you can't answer that, but, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay.
I just want to say one more thing. When I said something that I threw out there that I'm not pleased with, you asked me what I thought. I think if your life is in danger, like this is real danger, imminent danger, you're being attacked.
I'm not gonna hold you to
and you gotta
anything,
do what you
believe
gotta
me.
do. You know, I don't
Yeah.
wanna
Yeah,
put
no,
any false
Yeah,
information out. That's not what I
Yeah.
meant. What I meant is what I just said. Hope that
Got
makes
it.
sense. Okay.
don't worry.
Okay, we're going to executive session. Want to take a short break for a few minutes? Okay, we need to take our items of business. Motion? Do you need a motion for that, Cal? No. Hey, good.
Ask you, August. I think you can declare things. You can declare stuff like that, man.
Thank you.
It's up to you.
People that really want to.
Give us enough for this one? Or you want to-
I was asking, thinking that maybe.
9.
Well, they'll get a blow.
We'll go.
And by the way, for Frank and Olympia, who weren't here, I mean, those people pay heavy fines. I don't think, I'm not sure, I think that happened. Well, you already, I can't remember, but they've been heavily fined. So one would, it's not that nothing was done. We all assume, everybody assumed,
Well, one
keep
of
them
our
under
first
control.
meetings.
Was that it?
I was keep fining them if they
Yeah.
keep paying.
But
And
you see the
Mike, I
fines.
remember, was like, we shouldn't keep fining them.
Oh, you're right, that's right, because he did say that. And I was, well, you saw that,
Yeah.
we've got communication, they've already been fined
Yeah.
again.
There's a
That's
reason
right,
why
I
I
forgot
asked them
that.
the 2 questions I did.
Yes.
That's all I gotta say. We'll talk about it
That
in
was
executive
good.
session.
No, that was good.
And I usually don't do that in a communication thing, like really, if you're gonna make
Yeah.
an informed decision tonight.
They're there.
What's that?
They were there and they were.
Yeah, well, yeah, and I really think between you and I,
I'm amazed if the guy hasn't done something a little bit drastic.
Yeah,
Well,
even a
yeah,
tree stand.
well, I think that's what Michael's trying to say.
yeah,
Yeah,
He said tree stand, you thought exactly
Yeah.
what I thought.
man,
and I'm not a.
Go on, Jim.
No,
I understand.
You-
just an old dog.
You do it.
Couple old dogs. Let me tell you, boy, the back was hurting this morning. How's it going? It has been.
Like,
These are not domesticated animals, these are livestock. But I said, just, no, I didn't ask what kind of chickens are received.
I have chickens, and they're not friggin'.
Okay, but anyway, we don't need that issue, all right? Because personal attack. Now, attack, as far as I'm concerned, on your property, on your ground.
Hi, how are you?
Just what's my answer?
Okay, a little wet, a little sticky, but clean. Good, good,
Now,
good.
I'm not sure if our ACO understood, because they came out and they just looked at it as, you know, livestock, because they were ready to back it up on the attack. domesticated.
I
And
understand.
then,
What do you mean by that? They go when they say
no, according to their case.
that's the A, it's makes you A for doesn't that have bearing on it?
You gotta take it, got to go, okay,
No,
wait a
no,
minute.
no, 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 no.
ACO, go back out there and get
No,
the
no,
information
no,
about
no,
these,
no, that's-
when they
Takes
say,
that.
and go
At
to
this time,
God.
they just
Schools, not go.
Okay,
Yes.
West Virginia, hi, Ben, how
Alright,
are
you
you?
go to Boston, and then put that all together, you have it, and now it doesn't have to be this.
That was freezing with you.
Why did you say
That's
something?
Because I didn't want to be explaining, but I'm sitting there trying my emoji.
No, my phone was in the air.
I said you the emoji.
I know, my phone was, my phone was at, my phone was
I should have heard that.
my phone was in my office.
Susan says to me,
Why
are you showing the sweater on? Guys like,
I know we were
Well, it was hot when I came in, so I wanted to cool it off. I guess I cooled it off too much.
Did you get that link that I sent you?
Yeah, I did, and I'm sorry I didn't respond to you.
That's all right.
It's bad stuff, bad stuff down there, and they're just covering it up. And they're making, you know, they got all these kids and they're making all these, homes for, you know, tents and cities and stuff. It's crazy. I don't know. Gotta ask, I gotta ask.
I'm gonna run up to my truck to see if that hot tea that I brought with me is now cold or whether it's still hot.
Okay.
I want to get a system for it.
it's been much longer anyway.
Oh, you will be.
Maybe 10 o'clock.
No, it won't take more than that.
First they were out, and then just like came in with the A's.
Well, I think it's really.
I hope I'm not too tired to do that.
It's pretty domestic to me.
It's probably just relax your doing that.
Especially now, like, when I was growing up and you always had chickens, they were just chickens.
I had a baby Pete when I was a little kid at Easter, we didn't know what the hell to do with it.
Yeah.
But, you know,
Like,
so
and now people give them names, they're in the backyard, they're.
And heard those dogs from the cemetery, and I wouldn't get out of the car.
It looked tough, it looked
Yeah, and
scary.
they ran right back over the